Hey guys, welcome to another Finer Things review. I am Jordan, Boo Nast on the Geek, and today I want to talk about a game that I happened to come across called Zeppelin Attack. It is a deck building game by Evil Hat Productions, 2 to 4 players. It says on the box 45 to 60 minutes. I would say it's actually maybe a little bit longer than that, maybe an hour and a half, but that could just be my group. So anyway, let me show you what you get in this little box and how to play, and then I'll come back and give you my final thoughts. Okay, so here we have a game of Zeppelin Attack set up for 2 players. For setup, you're going to separate the cards out, and you're going to create the Fate deck here, which is the currency of the game. Shuffle that up and make a pile. And you have your 5 stacks of mercenary cards here. We have defense cards, attack cards, operations cards, and then operations zeppelins and attack zeppelins. Shuffle those and make a pile for each. Each player is going to choose one of the 4 characters in the game. That character will have their own starting deck. Each of them are very similar, but just slightly different. And their own special Zeppelin that only your character can purchase. You'll put those 2 into the supply. You'll take your starting deck, taking a few Fate cards. Everyone will start with 7 Fate in the game, shuffling these 3 and a 4 into their deck. Shuffle up, and then everyone starts with a hand of 5 cards. Also, each player starts with 3 Zeppelins in their deck, one of which is the flagship. It says flagship there. It's also the only one with 3 stats in it. You will start with your flagship out in play. So once you're all set up and ready to go, decide who's going to be the first player, and then we can begin. The game has 3 phases. In the first phase is the action phase. And this is a lot of the meat of the game here. You can play as many actions as you wish or that you are able to during your turn. One of the actions you can do is to play a Zeppelin card from your hand. So as you're going through the game, you'll be drawing these Zeppelin cards. To play a Zeppelin card, you simply play it face down in front of you, adding it to your armada there. So if we had 2, there's no limit. If I had drawn 2, I can place both of those out. Pretty straightforward there. That's playing a Zeppelin. Then we can, each Zeppelin is eligible to play 1 card. Each one can take an action. To do so, you'll notice that these Zeppelins have a few stats on them here. They'll have up to 3, but usually only 2 stats on them. You'll see this one here, for instance, it says attack Zeppelin. So all the Zeppelins will have a defense value, meaning that they can play defense cards. And then some will have an attack value here, which means this one can play attack cards. And if we look at this one here, you see that it does not have the attack icon, but it does have this yellow one down here. That means that it can play operations cards. So, to play actions on Zeppelins, simply choose cards from your hand and select which Zeppelin will do that action. So for instance here we have a operations card, the yellow there, and so we would choose one of our Zeppelins that is eligible to play an operations card. So we'll choose this one here and place it on it, and then you simply do whatever the card text directs you to do. So in this case, we'll be drawing some cards, some Fate cards, and adding them to our discard. And the operations cards mainly are allowing you to draw more cards. It is the main way that you acquire the Fate, the resources in the game. Then there is also your Zeppelins can attack the opponent. So let's just say our opponent has another Zeppelin out there. So to do an attack, you simply have to have a Zeppelin that's open and has the attack capability and play the attack card on it. Now these attack cards we'll have the icon there with the capacity. We'll get to that in a moment. But also they have a type. So in this case, this is an electric attack. That's also written up here. As you progress through the game, you'll acquire other attack cards that may have some other icons on them or be different types or different kinds of attacks. But in this case here, we have a electric attack. So you would choose an eligible Zeppelin, play it on that, and announce to your player, choosing one of their Zeppelins that you're going to attack specifically. So in this case, let's have this Zeppelin here, the baboon, attack their condensator over here. So I would announce to this player that the baboon is attacking their condensator Zeppelin with an electric attack. The defending player then can attempt to play a defense card. This is usually when you're going to play your defense cards, is on the other player's turn. So he's trying to hit me with an electric attack. Well, I can play defensive cards, and if I have a defense card here, you'll see this one here is a defensive card that protects against frost and psionic attacks. So if I have an eligible defensive card, this one here, let's say we have this one here, you can see defends against electric and frost cards. So if I have an eligible card that matches any of the symbols from the attack card, I can then play it. The symbols match, great. Then I successfully block the attack, in which case the defender, if there's any green text on the defense card, they will get to do that. And then any general effect, noted by the little circle here, they will then get to do that as well. And then, even if the attack is not successful, if the attack card the attacker played had a general effect, they'd be able to do that as well. But in this case, we do not have a defense card, we do not have an electric defense card, so the attack goes unblocked. If it goes unblocked, then the attacker is going to score a battle point, in which case they're going to choose one of the 5 piles of cards up here, the mercenary cards, choose one of them and stick it under their flagship, which is a point at the end of the game. Also, the defender is going to have that Zeppelin that lost that fight retreat, which means that it will go to the discard and it'll be brought back out later as we reshuffle our decks and bring them back out into play. It's not destroyed, it's just out for now. And then also, if I'm successful, I will then get to enact my attack ability on the card, which is highlighted in red, with this little bomb symbol, and then any general effects I would have on that card. And then the last type of action we can play, so we can play operations on the Zeppelin, we can attack with our Zeppelins, and try to defend with those. But also you can play a defensive card on your turn, and just to enact the general effect. In this case, we may draw 1 card. So if I still have my flagship here, which can still play a card. In that case, I could just play that there and take the general effect. Also, I would like to note your flagships here are a little special, so that if your flagship is attacked, you're going to be able to draw 1 card into your hand before you decide whether you're going to be able to defend or not. And if your flagship is successfully attacked, your flagship will never retreat. They will always stay in play. Also, one other thing I want to point out is you'll see these cards have capacity values on them. So this card here has the ability to play defensive or operations cards at a capacity of 2 in either of those categories. So when I play this card, when this Zeppelin takes this action, this is a 1 capacity operation, so there's no problem here. We can simply play it, do the effect, and it'll discard at the end. But if you can play an operations card that exceeds the capacity of that flagship. Now that's fine, But at the discard phase and drawing back up, this Zeppelin is going to basically overload and it's going to have to discard itself. So you can use them and kind of overload your Zeppelins, but at the same time you're going to lose them for a little while until you draw them back into your hand. And also, your flagship, while it usually has the ability to do all three things, your flagship can never go over its capacity. So in this case here, again, the same card. In this case, it's over its operations capacity, so I cannot overload and play this card with my flagship. It would have to be one of my other available Zeppelins. So that's the playing the actions. Basically, each Zeppelin is just going to be able to play one card, either attack or play a defensive card for its operations, or an operations card to acquire more cards or fate points. Then after you're done with all of the available actions, you can buy cards. So as I said, the currency in this game is called fate. Fate cards have their own stack up here. When you acquire fate cards, usually through operations actions, some of them will have maybe an effect or text that would trigger when you acquire that card. But after that, they don't re-trigger their effects. Let's say I have this remaining in my hand, so here I have 7 fate points. Well, up here are all the available cards for me to purchase. Up in the top left is their cost in fate points. This one's 9. So I can spend my fate points to buy a card, much like many other deck builders. It does not make change, so I could buy this 6 cost here. I would not get one back. And when you buy a card, you simply add it to your hand, and the fate cards are discarded out of your deck, so that as you spend the currency in the game, as you spend fate, you are removing it from your deck, so you're going to have to constantly be reacquiring it. Then after you're done buying cards, you can buy as many as you wish. Also, when you purchase a card, you may then cull one of the cards from your hand or from the discard. You can take a card and stick it underneath your flagship, and that will also count as a point. And only if you buy either an attack, defense, or operations card. If you buy a Zeppelin, then you're not eligible to remove a card from your deck, scoring it. But if you buy one of the 3 actions cards, then you may. After that is the discard and draw up phase. You may discard as many cards as you wish. And then if you are below 5 cards, you draw back up to a hand of 5 cards. Or if you still have over 5 cards, you must discard down. Either way, any way you want to do it, you discard as much as you want, but you must end your turn with a hand of 5 cards. Also in the discard draw up phase, all cards that you've played on your Zeppelins, you're going to remove, putting them to the discard. Play will continue in this way, going back and forth. Anytime that you attempt to draw a card from your deck and it's empty, you simply reshuffle your discard back to form a new fresh deck to draw from. And the same with the fate points here. Anytime this runs out, simply reshuffle and make a new stack. The game will end with players going back and forth when any 3 of these 5 stacks are depleted. Once that happens, you will finish the round out so that each player has had an equal number of turns, and the player with the most points wins. Okay, that is Zeppelin Attacks. Pretty straightforward little deck building game as far as mechanically. It's I'm gonna lay down my Zeppelins. My operation Zeppelins can play the operation cards. My attack Zeppelins do the attacking. They can all do the defensive cards. So mechanically, not much to it. Pretty straightforward. But what I do like about this deck builder, and a couple things going on here that kind of separate it from others that I've played. One is the player versus player interaction in this. You know, there's been so many other deck builders that I have that kind of advertise as direct player interaction, you know, and I'm thinking, okay, you know, I'm thinking about what this guy's doing and all this stuff, and then oftentimes it just kind of boils down to, well, I can make them discard cards, or maybe they can draw one less card, or something like that. And that's just, that's not very fulfilling. That's not player versus player action that I was looking for. But in Zeppelin attack, you are actively attacking your opponent. You know, you're trying to find out. You're paying attention to what kind of defense cards he's playing to try to find a weakness in there. You know, like, and if I start buying all these frost attacks or electric attack or whatever, maybe I can specialize or focus in one or two types of attack, then he's going to be less likely to defend that until he gets those types of defense cards. So and also if you successfully attack, then you're knocking his Zeppelins out of the board as long as it's not the flagship, which really puts a hurt on their ability then to do things, because basically they can only play the cards for each Zeppelin can play one card. So it really is player versus player interaction in a deck builder. You're actively paying attention to what they're doing. You are actively attacking them. There are immediate consequences to that. It's not just, I can make you discard a card or draw this. So that was one. The other thing is the resources in this game. Unlike so many, and I would probably say most deck builders, where I buy some money cards or resource or whatever it is in the game. I'm buying these cards, and then I'm slowly, building this deck, building this engine, and you're eventually just going to start drawing those cards and more money cards, and it's kind of this snowball effect. You get this positive feedback loop where I keep buying, these golds or these silver, whatever, and I'm making more money, and I'm basically generating more money every time I go through that deck and reshuffle it. That is not what's happening here. When you have your money and you spend it, it's gone. It is out of the deck. You know what I mean? So you're constantly having to reacquire resources. Like, you're constantly having to balance, because each Zeppelin can only take one action. So it's an operation Zeppelin. Cool. So I can use those to constantly just getting that money back, which I don't think I've really seen in any other deck builder. I will say that I think this tends to kind of slow it down a little bit, at least slow the pace of the game down a little bit, because it's not just like I'm just building this engine and then it just starts going and it just takes off. It's like I spend that money, it's like, crap, now I've got to get more. Like, you constantly have to get more. And that affects your choices a lot, as far as your purchases. Not only with the mercenary cards, with the attack, defense, and operations cards, but also when you get more Zeppelins. Like, what do I need? Like, it's either an attack Zeppelin or it's an operation Zeppelin. Like, what are you going to go for? So the way that the resource is handled, the simple fact that you spend it and it's gone, just like actually like life, like in money, like that money's gone, I got to make more. Very cool that you have to do that. And so that it has another effect on the game where, since that money's gone, it's very precious. So it makes your decisions on the cards that you're gonna buy much more difficult, because I've got this 7 money this one time, and getting more of that money back in there, and then you also have to have the luck of the draw to draw a couple in the same hand. So when you're spending that money, you suddenly really feel like the value of $1 in this game. So you end up just kind of sitting there thinking, oh God, okay, like this is some of the only money I've got. What's it going for? Am I going to attack? Am I going to defend? Am I going to buy more Zeppelins? What am I going to do? And then the only other things I really want to point out is, a lot of really interesting things in here, in that a lot of the cards, a lot of the operation cards allow you to switch choose what card goes on top of the stack, because you can only buy the card that's on top of that stack. So sometimes you can put a card that you really need, or a card that you know your opponent doesn't want to put that on the top. It's a very cool thing. Also, buying cards, if you don't buy the Zeppelins, you can then cull cards out of your deck or your discard, which is common in a lot of other deck builders. But when you cull that card, it's a point. So not only can you score points from attacking successfully, you can also score points when you buy. But only when you buy the action cards, not the Zeppelin cards. But you need more Zeppelins to play the actions. You get it. Kind of running around in your head. So, I don't know, a lot of cool, interesting things here. I think there's some fresh twists on what is otherwise a pretty straightforward deck builder. But, direct player interaction, money is a precious thing, and you have to constantly get it back, and you've got some really technically easy but very difficult decisions to make in the game. I would highly recommend this for anyone that really likes deck builders, and it's I think a game that just didn't get a lot of attention, unfortunately. But hopefully we'll correct that. If you like the deck builders, I would definitely check this out, because that's some fresh mechanics. And also, it is kind of zany and funny, and it has kind of a tongue-in-cheek feel to it. So if you like, games in an hour or so like that kind of have this little bit of zaniness, you're going to read some of those cards and kind of laugh and look at the artwork. Anyway, that is Zeppelin Attack. I am Jordan for Finer Things Review. I'd like to thank Mark, my man behind the camera, who does all the editing for us. And also I'd like to thank Common Room Games for giving us the space here to film. And I'd also like to thank you guys for watching. And until next time, I hope this video helps you decide if this is the game for you or not.